It was actually a study that was done by the Dove soap company. And they did a blind study. You can find this online. It's fascinating to watch. They did a blind study. They had all these volunteers sign up. They didn't know exactly what they were signing up for. They had a general idea, but that was it. And you see on this scene, here's what you see. You've got a large room. And in the room is a chair. In front of the chair is an easel. Sitting there is an artist. An FBI-trained forensic artist. His job, to do what they always do. Someone says, my house was robbed, tell me what he looked like. Tell me about his ears, tell me about his eyes, tell me about this. And they can literally recreate the person just by hearing the description. On the other side of him was a mechitza. And on the other side of the mechitza was a chair. And the first person is called in. We'll call her Sarah. Okay? Sarah walks in. She sits down on the chair. He can't see her. She can't see him. She's on the other side of the mechitza. And he's talking to her and he says, hi, welcome. Can you please start describing? Describe your forehead, describe your nose, describe your chin, describe your ears, describe your hair. And she's describing all of her facial features. And while she's describing, you just see him drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing, asking for every aspect of her face, and he's drawing. When he finishes, she says, thank you. He says, thank you so much. And he says, do me a favor, you can leave now. When you go out into the waiting room, you're going to see another person. Talk to her for 5-10 minutes. When you're done, please send her in. Okay? She goes out in the waiting room 5-10 minutes, schmoozes with the person in the waiting room. We'll call her, Rachel, and then sends Rachel in. Rachel comes in, same exact thing. Goes on the other side of the mechitza, sits in the chair. She can't see him. He can't see her. And again, he says, I want you to describe, not yourself, but I want you to describe the person you just met in the waiting room. Describe Sarah. Tell me about her head, her forehead, her nose, her chin, her ears. And again, this person starts describing. But this time, Rachel's not describing herself. She's describing what Sarah looked like. And as she's describing, he's drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing. They do this again and again and again. Many times they do the study. Each time the person comes in, describes themselves, he draws. Then a second person comes in who just met them. Again, they describe and he draws. 2 portraits. One where the person described themselves, one where someone else described them. At the end of the video, the end of the study, here's what they show. You watch each woman come in. And she's being videoed as this happens in real time. And she stands there. She didn't know what the study was about. And she's standing in front of 2 portraits. One is the description of how she described herself. The other is a portrait of how someone else described her. In every single case, you see him, he says, so this one is you, this is how you described yourself. And this is how someone else described you. And in every single one, the description of themselves was never as beautiful as the way someone else saw them. In every single case. And you watch these women as they're looking at how they describe themselves versus how someone else described them. And some of them start to cry. And it's a very, very powerful study. And it ends off where the Dove soap commercial says, hashtag, you are more beautiful than you think. My Rebbe, Rabbi Yitzchak Itzkowitz, I have 2 Rebbeim, my personal Rebbe, my Gadol Rebbe, they're both great. He once said to me, he thinks the greatest avla, the greatest challenge, the greatest pain, the greatest nisayon that we have in our generation is that we don't see our greatness. When a person thinks, not just in this study, I'm not as beautiful as I think. A person thinks, I'm not as smart as I think. I'm not so smart. I'm not so talented. I'm not such a great speaker. I'm not such a good mother. I'm not a good wife. I'm not good at this. I'm not a good husband. I'm not a good father. I'm not so smart. I can't learn so well. A person starts thinking, he says, this self-esteem, this self-confidence, this is one of the greatest challenges of today's generation.